Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Decryption and I hope you are well. I recently took part in the GMTK Game Jam where I made a game in 5 days. The game I made was called Countdown Tower Defense. It's a game where you play the new commander and you have to place your units down in order to defeat the army of the undead. If that's the faction you pick, because you can pick multiple, and the countdown theme was built into it, that the time is always ticking down. If the enemies are there, the time's ticking down. If you place units, your time ticks down. The only way you can get time back is by defeating the waves. So we're going to break down all the cool little bits I added into it, because talking about how things were developed is a great way to learn things. So let's get started. So the game has a lot of features built into it. For the most part, they're all relatively simple, but I wanted to make a game that was something like I've never made before because I like the challenge. So I'm just going to go through and break down some of the bits that I think will be an interesting discussion. And of course, if you see anything that I've not included, let me know down below and we can add it into another video or something like that. So the basic gist of it, if I just play it, and I'll mute it from the music. So the basic gist of it is you get these cards here, and each card as you click, you can then click on one of these tiles. If you've not selected a card, then clicking on it does nothing. So you select one of your warrior cards, you can click down and it'll spawn the unit. So the cards here, these are basically just a fancy widget. That's all it really is. So I've got this WBC card, so widget blueprint component. It's a basic card here. In the class defaults, or the set properties of it, I can assign card data, where I can just pick which card I want it to show, and it will update immediately like that. That's really it. This is just a fancy card background that I found online from a really cool website, and I put all the details in. The data asset I'm assigning is one I've built in C++, just because I wanted to push my C++ knowledge more. And all it is literally just all of the properties that the card would need, or the character in the game. It's kind of the card and the character mashed into one data asset. I've got the intro widgets here, which we'll talk about later. All the stats and everything, like the details, that's what just shows on the card here. So I pretty much pass these card datas around everywhere I need to. There are two types of card data. There's the standard card data here, which has a unit's details, and then there's an upgrade card data, which has a specific upgrade. They both come from the same base card data, which has like the name, the cost, the shop cost, that stuff built in, but then it's extended to add the additional things for the unit or the upgrade. So that's how I built the cards there, and I just took some pretty photos and balanced it all out, right, wrote text and everything like that. On my player controller, when I select a card, I run this event of set selected card, which basically deselects every other card, so it's only got that one, hides it from the existing card, because if you click on one card and then click on another one, it needs to not select both. So you can see I've selected that one. If I click this one, I select that one, and that one deselects. And then all I do is I save the selected card widget and the selected card I've picked, because the widget lets me close it next time. The little animation, when you hover over it, I just run this card hover animation here, and by default the cards are hanging off the screen, so realistically the screen is like that, you know, and then all I do is I animate it up into view like that when you hover over it. That's really it. But then now that I've got that selected, I have these game tiles here, and these handle themselves for the most part. All I do is when I hover over it, or I, don't hover over it, I check if I've got a selected card. If I have any type of selected card, whether it's an upgrade or a unit, then I proceed on. I check if the player is currently busy, so that's they're currently waiting for a unit to spawn, just in case you can accidentally click really quickly and get multiple units. So as soon as you place one unit, it marks the player as busy, so you can't do anything else for now. And once it's marked the player as busy, it basically comes along, and depending on the card type, if it's a unit or an upgrade, if it's a unit, it just makes it green or ungreen if it's, cursor off. If it's an upgrade, then it does an additional check to see, is the upgrade limited to specific cards? If so, does it match the card, or is it empty and it can be applied to any unit, and then make it green? Just because the logic's different. And the selection, when you click on it, is similar, that if you click it and you've got a selected card, it just says set the selected grid on the player controller, which we'll look at in a moment because that actions the actual placing. But if there's no card selected, then it deselects all the units and then actually selects the unit if there is one. That's how it makes it. So I can click on a unit and then I see the circle of his attack radius and I can see his details. I did mean to add the list of upgrades here, but I completely forgot to do that. The destroy button literally just tells the unit to die. That's it. And then they've gone. But back to the game tile, I said we have this set game grid function here. So on my player controller, when I select a card, it stores it in memory and stores the card. But when I select the grid, it checks if we've already got a selected card, checks if we've got the correct time to make sure you can't spend more than you actually have. And if you do, marks yourself as busy, and then it goes off independent if it's a card or a unit. If it's a unit and the grid doesn't currently have one, just to stop any glitches, then it spawns the unit onto the grid. That's what makes them appear when you click. From there, it then comes down, marks as the card's been placed, so the card disappears off the screen. It spends the time. It removes the item from your hands, and I've had to do a custom function for this, but we'll come back to that in a moment. It runs an event dispatcher, so anything else can listen to it. That's quests and stuff. And then it deselects the card, so you've got nothing clicked, essentially. For the upgrade side, it basically gets the upgrade card. It makes sure that we can actually apply it to the unit we're clicking to stop you applying upgrades to a card that's not allowed them. And then it applies the upgrade to them, which literally just checks if it's got a meshed replacement. If it does, then all it does is replace the static mesh. That's it. It does store the upgrade against the character, because then we can loop over and do all the checks, which we'll talk about later. And that's pretty much how it works. The custom function I had to do here, remove item once, in my player controller I have a variable called cards in hand, and this just stores data assets, right? But these data assets aren't a copy of each other. They're not 5 different instances, even though they're all the same. Because in that case, if you say remove this item, it actually removes all 5 when you only want to remove 1. And that's because they're all the exact same memory location. We're not changing it or copying it because they're all the same thing. And it's what makes it really lightweight. So what I've done instead is I created a function here where I loop over the cards, and as soon as I find one that's got the same instance as mine, then I remove it at the specific index instead, just as go. That's it. And then it loops back around and ends it. So it's just a bit different because you can't really do remove index without having an index, because I don't know where it is. So I've just looped over and got the first index I find. But if you do remove item, it'll remove every single type of that item, which in my case will be all of them. So that's pretty much how the placing works. So you can start the game, you've got your list of cards that show up from the player controller, you select it, it says yes you can select a grid and it does all the hover, you click on it, it places it down. That's it. If I had an upgrade card, let's just give myself a basic upgrade card just to show you how that one works. So I'll just add a new one to my hand. So we'll do upgrade Coatplash to give him a new weapon. So you can see I can place my unit down, and that's not the way I'm supposed to do it. Apologies. I need to go to the faction. So we'll talk about this as well. So the cards in the hand, when you first start the game, I have these faction data assets for the 2 factions. And inside here, it's got what units you're supposed to start with. It also lists all the other units you have in total to make the shop work and randomize, and the upgrades you're allowed as well. There's other things in here like the background music, so it changes depending which faction you play, images, so you can pick from the main menu and stuff. But on the starting hand, I'll just add the upgrade. Oh, I found a bug in my own game. I can't actually assign the upgrade as a starting unit, so that's interesting. That's okay though, because what I can do at the end of the event begin play, where I start the game timer, I'll just get the cards in hand and I'll just call add, and then I will come and add the upgrade this way. There we go. You're meant to be able to add the upgrade here, but in the middle of the game I had to change how the structure worked for the cards, because originally I just had the unit as being the only card, but then when I wanted the upgrade and they had different variables, it was running into a lot of issues. So I actually changed the units to a subclass of as a generic card. So I had a generic card structure, and then the units and the upgrades had children of that. But I missed a few places like the starting units where I actually had to change it. But now I've got a unit card in my hand, there we go, so I can place a unit down. If I select the card, you can see I can't highlight anything because they're all unavailable, except this guy here. And now it's applied it to him. If I break out and zoom in, you see he now has a Coplash. And on him, I don't know if it's visible. Yes, upgrades there. Oh, there's the intro, but we'll get to that later. The upgrades are stored against him to make the powers actually work. And that is in C++, because like I said, I wanted to do a lot of this in C++. But on the base character, we store all of the upgrades that the character has there. And then I have these functions of get power, get range, get attack rate, because that's what the function statistically changes, right? Adding an upgrade modifies one of these three, or multiple. The mesh is just redundant, that's just visual. So what each of these functions do is it literally gets the base rate, so attack rate, range, power, loops over all the upgrades, adding any additionals, whether it's negative or positive, and then returns it. And I just use these everywhere. So by default, the character's power might be 5. If there's no upgrades, it'll skip it and just return 5. Add the Coplash, it adds an additional 5 to his power. That will get added onto here and return. So that's pretty much how that worked. There is an event tick that just makes them rotate to the bad guy or the start point, but that's just basic stuff for that one. It's just a basic rotation that says if you've got an actor or an enemy, rotate, all that stuff. But because they're using the same class, I don't want it to rotate if it's an enemy. So that's how the card placing and the upgrades work. The enemies, they use a special system called the wave spawner I've created. And it's all based on mathematics, because I didn't want to go through and say at level 1 spawn these, at level 2 spawn these, level 3 spawn these, because then it wouldn't be infinite. I wanted it to be, in a sense, infinite but winnable, and I just completely forgot to add the winnable part in. But I've got this wave spawner blueprint here. I place it really anywhere, it doesn't matter. All this does when it loads is find the starting spawn points. I added 3 because I found when they were all spawning at the same place, they were just in one big queue trying to come around. At least with 3, they try to funnel in, and sometimes you get multiple next to each other, which is quite nice. So it goes through and finds all of the spawn points. It also finds the death point, which is the one in here, which damages the player. And then it's got these planned spawns and the wave increase amount. So each time you have a wave, so wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you start at 1, it has this default value of wave increase amount. And it takes the wave and multiplies it by the wave increase amount, so 1 times 5 is 5, and it creates this cost to spawn. The cost to spawn is then used against all of the units in the enemy faction to try and figure out who you can spawn on that wave. So let's go through an example. So if I was facing the Legion of the Nubis, it goes through all the units on here. Just the units for this one. It doesn't do the upgrades because we don't want to give the enemies upgrades. Although that would have been pretty cool. So it goes through each of these and gets the cost to spawn. And it gets the shop cost here. Sorry, the shop cost. So if it's 1 times 5, because the wave is 1 and the default is 5, then that produces 5. It will go down and see, okay, shop cost 4, we can afford you, buy that. And now we only have 1 point left, and it'll go through the other and say, we can't use that, as 1 point gone. So that means one enemy will spawn and walk down, which is exactly what it does. The wave increase amount then adds a single value to it, so 5 goes to 6, and the wave increases, so 2 times 6 is now 12. So then it looks over all the characters again, but it always does it from the highest value down. So it looks at the Pharaoh, which is the biggest, and says, can we afford you? 50, no, because we're on 12, so it ignores that. Mummy 12, Mummy 2, can we afford you? Shop cost 20, no. Mummy 1, can we afford you? Yes, how many? 3. So it will spawn 3 at that point. 4, 8, 12. So they'll start running out. And that's how it works. So each wave will increase. Each wave will also increase the wave increase amount by 1, so they're each going up. The difficulty selection changes this wave increase amount. I think the hardest difficulty is immediately starts off at 12, so you have less units to spawn, but they're starting at 12 times 1, so that's 4 units coming out right at the start. So that means you're going to get the bigger and badder units quicker than you would if you're on the easy difficulty, which I think sets it to 4, so it spawns only 1, and then doubles it to 8, so it spawns 2. The medium difficulty, it spawns 3. So that's how it works mathematically in there, really. This function, it actually isn't that complicated to do. It took a little bit to get it working properly, but essentially, it gets the faction it's supposed to, it gets the starting wave increase, so that depends on your difficulty. It sorts all the spawns by cost right at the start and then never again. And all that does is it loops over each of the units, and then it basically bubble sorts it to make sure the most powerful units are first in the array and the less powerful units at the last. Because the more powerful they are, the more of them I really want to spawn if I can. They should take first priority. So as soon as you can spawn a big boss, it will spawn the big boss. And then it goes and finds the starting point, the destinations, and then it does this wait for wave change. Now, if you remember, the game's theme is countdown, so there is a timer constantly ticking down. So on my player controller, I've got the timer. When the timer hits a certain value, it updates the state from stopped, which is the timer's not running because you're pending a wave, to running as in the timer is running because the wave's there sucking your life force away. And then it goes to this build wave function, and all this does is it gets the current wave number, does the multiplication that I said, and creates the cost to spawn. Then it finds all the spawns it can do, which is the part where it loops over the ordered spawns, finds the most expensive ones, reduces it, adds them to the array. That's all that one really does, handling all of that. This extra for loop in here basically ticks over if we can spawn multiple of them. So it tries to do that. So if you can spawn 3 bosses, it will spawn 3 bosses. And then it plays a drum roll, just because I thought it was a cool sound to add when the wave spawns, which it was. And then it goes to spawn enemy, where it slowly loops over them, async loads them in, spawns them, tells them to walk to the destination, assigns onto when they die so I can tick it up. It also now marks them as a unique spawn from the planned spawns. The unique spawns are ones that have been spawned before. And the reason we do this is so we can show them a cool intro screen. So if you're on the campaign mode, it doesn't, because that's part of the tutorial, but then it switches the mode after the tutorial. Or if you go to Sandbox, it will show these cool intro widgets. We'll have a closer look at those in a moment, because they are really cool. But essentially, if they haven't been seen before in the game, you know, it's your first time, it will play them a custom intro screen saying, oh, this character is here. And then it'll add them to the unique spawns here, so they won't show again. But like I say, if you've already seen them or you're in a campaign mode, then it'll skip all of that and just tell them to move to the location. And then it basically waits for 1 second and spawns the next one. It only waits for a second because if you spawn 3 enemies going tick, 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 and you've got 6, they'll spawn on top of each other. So a second for them to spawn, and for them to start moving away, then the next one spawns, then the next one spawns. And it'll just slowly phase them out so they're not all bang straight in the game straight away. The only other thing is when they die, I have this event down here, and I unbind from their death, remove them from the spawn enemies. I add their time to the player, so they've got this death price. If you kill a basic mummy, you get something like 10 points added to your timer, which helps you buy more cards later. If all the enemies have been spawned, and the spawned enemies is empty, then it adds the wave time to the player, so that, you know, they get 50 points, whatever, for defeating the wave. Adds the wave shot cards, which we'll look at in a moment. Marks the spawner state as stopped and waits for the next wave change, so it cycles back around. That's essentially it. The add wave shot cards basically comes in, and once you've beaten a wave, it takes the cost to spawn that it used to spawn this wave, and it basically does the same thing it does to find the enemies, but it gets a random card that fits in that cost to spawn. So if you have a card that costs 60 points to spawn, but you've not even reached 60 points yet, there's no point us giving it to the player because they physically can't use it and it's a bit redundant. It's teasing them for something they can't afford. So what it does is it looks at the cost to spawn, which you've just been given, and says, hey, do we have anything that matches this amount? If we do, add it to the cards to add, and then it comes out. But the cost to spawn's only ever going to be fairly low, so eventually you will get 3 cards added to the shop at once when you get up to those levels, but it basically just ticks through, giving you basic cards and upgrades, so you can buy it each round. And that's essentially the wave spawning function. Super, super simple, but it was a cool thing to run. Now, I mentioned the intros, so let's have a look at those then. So I wanted each character when they spawn to have a unique thing to tell the player they're fighting someone new. Because when the waves are spawning, you can't really see them from up here a lot, but I want it to be obvious. So I remembered that, I can't remember where I saw it first, but I know Borderlands did it as well. But they have these custom intros when a character spawns in, right? So let's get there. So like this character here jumps up, the screen freezes after he says something, it comes on and Unreal takes over because it's douche. And it does this custom intro screen showing that they're there. I'm not artistic enough, nor did I have enough time to have something really cool like that. But all I did was I went through and took some inspiration from it. So you can see it does all cool stuff like that. Mine aren't as complex as that, but I did go some really basic routes with it. So what I've done is I created these widgets here. I created a base widget first, which was just intros. All this has on it is an event dispatcher saying on intro finished, because then I can generically use the same intro over and over again. But I have these widgets for each character, like the mummy here, right? You can see everything's hanging off. All it does is animate these components in. So I'll play it from here. Animates them in, plays a growl, which he's not doing, but he does play a growl, and then it fades out. That's all it does. At the very, very end, it's got this hit event here that calls remove from parent to remove the widget, calls the event dispatcher and destroys the capture blueprint, right? The capture blueprint is on the event graph. All it does is find where I'm supposed to spawn the intros, spawn this character profile viewer, and then plays their animation. And each character does the same thing, every single one, but they've got slightly different colours and changes, right? That's what plays the intros. The intros are stored against each character, so you can see an intro. I've got the widget and the montage they're meant to play. So for the mummy, you can see he'll do that and go. But it obviously is the mummy mesh. The character preview, so how I'm actually getting the character to animate in the widget in 3D, that is just a material called character preview that I've made. And inside here, it's using the render texture, or render target, sorry, character preview here. So that's just a render target I've created at decent high quality. And then over, I think it's over here. Yes, there it is. Over here where the player can't see, we've got this target point. It spawns a blueprint here called the character preview. That, for the life of me, I cannot remember where I put it. There we go. So I've got this character preview blueprint here. All this has in it is a spring arm to control the camera and a scene capture component which stores my render target on it. And then on initialize or event begin play, I come in, I spawn the card that I need to because I'm passing in my card data to it, look. Spawn that character in, set the lighting channels so it doesn't see anything behind him, and then I tell him to play a montage after a short delay. That's essentially all it does, and when I do that, the render target updates because it's facing that character, and because I'm previewing that in a mesh, in a material, and then using that material on the widget, it plays on the widget in 3D, which looks really, really cool. There is a little bit of graphical glitch around it. There's a few white pixels that I'm not happy with. But if I just play the game and I can start the wave, you'll see, because the mummy is spawning and we've never had him before, the intro will play. There we go. And I think it looks really, really cool. And I've added the description randomly as well, and he'll spawn out and he'll start walking. There we go. And now, when they walk up, they've got spheres around them, so you can see when I click him, there it is. If anything walks into there, they'll swing. There's no making sure this collides with them. It swings, it attacks. It just deals the damage. If the enemy's in range, you don't need to be dodging. It just performs the damage. That's it. You can see the shot worked. I've got the co-flash upgrade. I can buy that, attach it to another one, and the wave's now spawning. So we've got 2 this time. My maths might be a bit off. I swear it was meant to do 3, but never mind. There we go. We've got 2 more upgrades, so I'll just ignore them for now. Click start wave. That literally just triggers it all to run. And you can see we should have 3 now, I think. There we go. Oh, 4 then. Okay, there we go. Yeah, my maths are missing somewhere. You can see the green issue there where I forgot to click it, but the shop's getting a nice load of upgrades. Click start wave. We've got Mummy 2 now because it's a unique enemy that's now can be afforded to spawn. It looks crap there. If you're playing full screen, it does work. I don't know why it started scaling wrong. But that's essentially the main system, really. I have blocked off everything I can to make sure they didn't go wandering. I put these here originally because I had a large nav mesh, but then no matter what I did, they were always trying to not follow the path, you know, and go the shortest route. So in the end, I just used specific nav meshes and put multiple on there. So you can see all these boxes. That's just telling them where to go to, like that, essentially. And they do walk round. The depth thing in here is a target point that's telling them where to go to. We have this blueprint called the home zone, and all this does is check if an enemy walks into it, check if they are an actual enemy, just in case there's a glitch so you can see why you're here, your character shouldn't be going there. Then it just removes time from you based on their power. It calls spend time. And if your life force reaches 0, so on spend time, where's spend time? Let's have a look. So on spend time, it just removes the time, checks if it's less than 0. If it isn't, it just updates the time so the UI works. If it is, then it officially tells everyone to stop, removes any timers, clears any UI, opens the loose screen, which unfortunately not many people are going to be able to see because the game is too easy. But here's the loose screen that would play. So here's the loose screen. Plays a gong, you failed, death text. That's it. The death text is per faction. So again, if I come to the faction, you have this death text here. The light of Ra has faded, or death itself has been defeated, you know, for whatever faction you play. And then after it finishes, it basically says go to the credit screen. That's it. Super, super simple for that one. The narrator for the tutorials, you can see is spawned up here. If you've watched the Out of Bounds series, having random characters place places will feel very at home with you. But that's all I've done. I wanted him to be visible, so you can see if I switch my game mode. Let's get rid of some of these tabs. So I do have 2 game modes. I have the campaign mode, which has the tutorial, and the sandbox, which is infinite. If I switch to campaign, on the player controller it immediately starts dialogue, which plays some dialogue voiced by... Hold on. There we go. Okay, it's not stopping this time for some reason. But it plays dialogue straight away, and you saw the guy down here. Let me just mute that for you. There you go. So you can see the guy stood right there. And all that is another render target, but you can see the glitches I was talking about. It's the same system, so I don't know why they've got little white artifacts around it. The plan originally was to have him fully facial mocapped. I do not know what is wrong with this project, but for the life of me, I could not get it to work at all. I moved it to my YouTube project, worked perfectly fine. Moved the exact same files to this one, just refused to work. I don't know why. I tried recording it in my YouTube project and bringing it over. The animations just refused to play. I spent 2-3 hours trying to figure it out. I was losing a lot of time for something that, whilst it would be nice, essentially it's polished. It's not going to affect the gameplay at all. So that's a shame. Because I was going to have him fully animated down there in the circle. That's why he was there, talking away, looking around, you know, all that stuff. Very similar to how Black and White used to do it, I think. But yeah, couldn't do that one, unfortunately. But that's why he's up here, because he spawns up here. I do the same thing as I did with the preview, but I have the character preview specifically for the narrator. So it doesn't spawn anything. It just immediately initializes the lighting and points the camera at him, which I show on the widget there. That's it. That's really it. Super, super basic. But yeah, the enemies, they've just got an AI controller that says move to this location to that location, so they'll walk around. But that's it, short and sweet. It was, the hardest part was coming up with all the data structure for the cards and everything, but they're all pretty simple, really. If anyone's asking why I did it in C++ instead of Blueprints, literally just so I can test myself, that's it. It's better to get the knowledge for it, just in case you ever need it. So I tried to do as much as I could in C++ without it taking too much time, but when it started getting to the point where I had to Google so many things to figure out what to do, I started backing off a little bit just for time's sake, really. But you can see most of it, the upgrade data, well, the upgrade classes, the structs, all those are in C++, and it works really nicely, really. Yeah. The main menu and the other maps I have. So I have a main menu that plays, so don't save anything in there. All it is a clump of the Egyptian thing I've taken, like the map. Placed it down. I placed a camera here that I take over. I have 2 mummies wandering around to not make it basic. And I show a UI. That's it. So you can see, super basic. So yes, the mummies will just randomly roam around. I just wanted something a bit different than just staring off into the distance, really. I don't know why, but I like the position of the camera where you see the 2 pyramids, but you'll notice this big sand dune there. I had to add that, because for some reason, I don't know why, it looks really good on the big demo map, but on my map, there's nothing there, and I've double checked and they've got nothing there either, but without it, it just looks too bland. So, yeah, I had to, if I delete that off, it just looks too bland now. Like it literally looks like I've deleted all the map, but there's nothing there, so I don't know. But yeah, you can see I've deleted a lot of things off here. I've not deleted loads because I just didn't need to, really. I want it to be lightweight but still do its job. And yeah, it basically just sits here and looks across. I'm using common UI for the menus, so controllers will work on this, but I didn't code the game that way. So I can come in, new game, pick your campaign, or sandbox, whatever game mode you want, click campaign, takes you straight into the game and sets the game mode as campaign. Sandbox lets you pick your faction, so Legion of Anubis or Kingdom of Kemet, and it says pick your difficulty. And whichever one you pick sets the wave counter and jumps into the game like that. There we go. The credits, I wanted to try something a bit different with the credits this time, because I always do the same scrolling text credits, and it's okay, but I've done it in every single game. And I thought, okay, well, whilst I'm making a different type of game, let's work on a different type of credits. So I got inspired by, what was it? I can't actually remember. I think it was an anime of some kind, but the credits were you just standing still and the characters are running across. That's the entire credits with some music playing or something. And I thought, okay, let's try and do that. Doing it just here looked dead boring, so I tried to position it off camera centered here, and I spawned each character's unit in and told them to run down here. When they reach this one, which is basically the home zone, but I just immediately kill the unit, then it, spawns all the credits. Once all the units have spawned, that's it. And above each character, I put a little pop-up bubble to say who they voiced and what they want. So like, this is the narrator. I haven't coded him to walk or anything like that. So it just says voiced by this guy, doesn't walk. I thought it was pretty funny that it doesn't walk, so I actually left it in like that. And then he'll go. There's no music on the credits run. Oh, there is music. I was just very quiet. You can see I added a UFO because I thought it was just funny that if people watch the credits, they'll see a random UFO. Ahmed, you never see Ahmed, but he's shouted at in the tutorial, so I put a black box on him. I thought that was hilarious. Then all the mummies will come through. It was alright. I've had a few people say they liked the credits because it was different. I don't know. It's got potential, but I need to add more to it. Like, I don't like how the speech bubble, as they come closer along, moves further and further away from their head. But I like the concept of it's okay, but it needs more work to it. But I only spent a little bit of time making it work. But yeah, that's the credit sequence, really. Yeah, I can't think of anything else to really add, really. I've done most of it, to be honest. I used a bunch of animation packs and stuff that I got off of the, I had it years ago from the marketplace. VFX pack for the clicking and stuff, or the magical explosion from the Horus Disciple unit. Game Dev Buddy to try and add the facial mocap, but it wasn't working for me for some reason. But yeah, that's it. I don't think I've missed anything. If there is anything you want to see, let me know below and I will add it into a new video, or if it's dead quick, I'll just reply to your comment. But yeah, the super basic game. Took a lot of thinking because I've never actually done a game like this before. But yeah, there you go. There is the cool concept of my game. It's really cool. I did have a lot of fun making it, and I love trying new games all the time because it boosts your knowledge when you're trying to do something that's out of your depth. So like that one is a tower defense. The Now Serving is just a third-person exploring game. It's a good game, but it's another third-person exploring game. Belief is wearing your first-person, top-down, third-person, first-person, top-down. They're all the same. I wanted something very different. I've done racing games before, which was very cool. So we have Time Rift Racers. That's a racing game. I really enjoyed that. I want to do that again, but that was in Unity, and I haven't quite figured out how to make Unreals feel karty at the moment. It's too realistic. But yeah, loads of different games. I love trying new game design types all the time. So yeah, there we go. One I don't think I'm going to do, type-wise, is horror. I'm just not a horror fan. I'm not going to make a game if I'm not a fan of it. Like zombies and stuff, yeah, that can technically be classed as horror. I mean jump scare horror. I'm probably not going to do something like that because I doubt I'm going to get into it. But then again, you never know. So yeah, there we go. There is my game, Countdown Tower Defense. It is free to play, free to download. It's part of the Game Jam, so you can scroll down. I'm on Linux and Windows here, so you can download it. It's not massive. Oh, I got a comment already, look. See, Logic Fallacy. I've worked on multiple games with them now. But yeah, there you go. Let me know what you think. If there's anything I've missed that you want me to talk about, let me know below. And as I say, if you've made a game, let me know and I'll go and check it out too. So thank you for watching. My name is Decryption and I will see you next time.